Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the Italian Bf109 G-14 to some, let's call it second impressions. No, I did not already make a video about it, I just know this plane already. Now you might have seen people saying, oh yeah, this plane is fantastic, it's just not as good as I remember it because it's stock. I say, it's exactly what I remember it, even though the last time I flew it was stock. You know, because everything is the same. The armament, the grinding way, the enemies, the incapabilities of the enemies, my sheer dumb luck, a little bit of skill, situational awareness, and extremely annoyingly bad handling. Like I'm very used to from pretty much the Bf109 F series onwards. And that just describes the Bf109 G-14 as well. Now it's still a little bit of an oddity within the Italian tech tree when we come to the armament. Now the Italians mostly prefer their 12.7mm Beretta Seyfert machine guns, and then later on they also put some 20mm MG151s on those planes as well, which give them a very respectable amount of firepower even at lower tiers. I mean, what is the first fighter plane in the German line that gets a single MG151? And what is the first Italian plane that gets two 20mm MG151? And firepower still is a important thing, in my opinion. It is not always the decisive factor, but it gives you results when you put all the effort of side climbing, maneuvering, and outplaying the enemy just at the end of the day in your pocket, so to speak. The Bf109 G-14 is, I have to say, not the worst Bf109 that there is, but it still lacks so much. And then there is the stock grind, which, you know, you have to begin with a single 20mm cannon. Granted, it's centralized mounted like the two 13mm, which are also rather unique for the Italians. Again, they have a lot of 12.7s, but not a whole lot of 13mm. Now here we have a Spitfire, and I know that Spitfires like to turn, so I turn a lot in advance and give them a good burst, one hit, that's it. The thing is, it was probably a 13mm hit, as it has the higher master velocity. Now here is the very big difference between German planes and the rest of the world, except certain American planes. And that is that the armament by default is not that bad. But the problem is to get the guns on target reliably for such a time that you get a lot of hits and results. Now you can see me here energy fighting with a Spitfire, which I normally don't recommend, but he stalls himself out and manage my speed a little bit, give him a good burst, and there is my first kill. I recognize that there was always the Tempest around, so a little bit of giving him my side profile so he has not a lot to shoot at, not a lot to hit, and that just then gives me the opportunity to stall fight him as well. And that is a unique situation because I had practically sorted out one-on-one on both of them, but I also had the significant energy advantage, and the enemy did disastrous maneuvers by themselves. If they would use their planes to their strength, I would not have a chance. Both of them just could run, and both would be significantly faster, as the Bf109 is terribly slow. At least stock. Upgraded, it makes practically no difference to an upgraded Spitfire. You just can't outrun a lot of enemies. You, at that battle rating, you don't also outgun most of them. The master velocity is slow, so your guns are just best performing at low or rather not so big distances at short ranges. And then there is this Spitfire, and he had the significant advantage. I saw him coming, but I wanted to gain speed, and again I wanted to make the loop, so we have a huge relative speed, so he doesn't have a lot of time to correct his aim and to shoot me effectively. That is a dangerous gamble, but I want to just fly home. And you can see Griffin Spitfire coming out of the turn, out accelerating me. You know, it's not the same game. Come on, it's not the same game. Bf109s are disastrously bad. What you do see me here doing, or what you see me doing here, is that I put my plane a lot, you know, to a 90th degree angle to the way that his guns are mounted. So when he's in the horizontal, I put my plane in a vertical rolling, and that just gives me the chance to avoid a lot of the fire effectively. He hits me here with a lot of 7.7s, I guess, and yeah, then also this other Spitfire broke off. This one is rather persistent, and you can see me here really struggling in the handling. The plane is sluggish, it's heavy, it doesn't have any acceleration. I don't have any chance of the Spitfire, and yet he makes so many mistakes that I still got away here. Now the one thing that he should have done is to climb up on me and to just wait for me to just get in a straight line. That would have taken a few seconds. I can counter most of his maneuvers to such a degree that he doesn't get the final blow. Yes, his cannons might also be stuck, but it doesn't excuse the bad aiming of this guy. Now I also do here a lot of annoying maneuvers. I don't like when enemies do this to me, but this is the only chance that I have. You can see how long it takes me to roll over, and then I also have to go immediately again into a defensive position, not being able to get into an offensive situation. And this was just the very bad handling that denied me the clear aiming. I knew where he was going through. The plane was just not following my orders to such a degree that I could put shots into him. Now I am here in an exit window, but again, this guy just out accelerates me so much. Griffin Spitfires are so damn good. Some call them overpowered, sarcasm off. I just have no real advantage in a 1 versus 1. And that brings us to the decisive part of this engagement. I out-teamplayed him. I hoped that there was a teammate around that saw my situation, that could interfere, and they actually interfered. But that was sadly not enough to get back into the fight. I still have a lot of ammunition, but my fuel is low, and also I have a lot of damaging hits received, and I just want to go back to the airfield and repair. Yeah, the sluggish handling. I mean, come on. It feels like I'm flying a medium bomber. I don't like flight models of Germans. Be it Focke-Wulfs, be it Bf109s, being it TARs, I don't like them. Twin-engine bombers and twin-engine fighters have rather decent flight models, but then they have still difficulties against the enemy's single-engined, single-seated fighters. This sounds like you have heard it, and yeah, this is why I call it second impressions. I saw this coming. I knew how I had to deal with Spitfires before. I tried my best. In the beginning, I cut out like 5 minutes of just climbing and positioning myself into the clouds cover and just waiting for a good opportunity. But that is not very decisive flying, so to speak. I have to wait for the enemies to make errors. I have to wait for the enemies to just be greedy. I cannot go into the offensive like a Griffin Spitfire can, or a Bearcat, or a Bearcat, whatever you want to call it, can do it. Or a lot of the Japanese. This is the same problem that the Bf109 shares with something like a P-51. The armament, I'm still not quite sure about it. I still stick to my opinion that the stock belts on the Germans are not that bad. I mean, the 13mm will never go to become excellent. There are no 50 cals, nor from the ammunition, nor from the muzzle velocity, nor from the ammunition count. I mean, it's not bad, 600 rounds, 300 per machine gun. And the 20mm has with 200 rounds centralized mounted actually a long firing time. So if you would have the same amount of ammunition for a Hispano cannon, a single one, you would run through the ammunition much faster. But you also would gain a lot more shell density in the air. It's a bit of a trade-off. If your aim is good, you profit from it. If your aim is bad, you lose by it. And then, yeah, it's still a mine shell in the stock belt. I also feel that the incendiary shells currently are working much better. And also the armor-piercing shell is working much better, which is a good thing because in the stock belt you have 2 incendiary belts and 1 armor-piercing high-explosive shell and 1 Minigeschoss. Yeah. So the plane in this battle is completely stock. I have flown it out before in another battle where I just was swarmed from the beginning. The enemy made no mistake, and so it was no surprise that we actually lost this battle pretty hard. And there was one comment in the previous battle that was rather significant. It was from the enemy player, the top scoring one I guess, who said, "Just focus the Italian planes and we will win." And that describes the actual problem. The Italians are good, they're decent, they have good handling, and they have also good firepower, while the Germans still suck. Yes, you can make them work, but I have to say, the Allies help a great deal. Again, if you would fight something like Japanese on a regular basis out of mixed battles, you kind of would see it much clearer. That was actually a lucky maneuver that the Spitfire avoided the head-on in the same direction. He was actually putting himself in front of my guns due to his better maneuverability, and now I have to avoid him again. But I think to myself, I still have around about 370 kilometers an hour under the wings. Let's energy fight him, and this is where I thought I would be dead. This is the absolute ridiculous performance of any kind of Griffin-powered Spitfire that just turned around while being in a stall and putting shots into me. Wow. And now I would be really in a lot of trouble if there wouldn't be a teammate that forces the Spitfire to back off into the opposite direction, and I am behind him. And you can see here, he's stalling himself out, but he is actually turning into me faster than I can put shots into him. We go into the head-on, nobody gets a clear shot, I burn him, and I get a critical hit and actually ram him. And because I had obviously the better ping, because according to certain other players, this is the only decisive factor in War Thunder, I rolled with the dice a little bit better, and he went out of the match, and I'm still flying. At this moment I think to myself, well, I have engine damage, and this is one of the rare occasions where you could see it here in the cockpit. I have an oil leak, but there is no engine temperature increase or no real engine damage. I have to say the engine sounds like the rest of the Italian ones. However, all the Italian planes that I flew so far, obviously they are also powered by certain variants of the DB601, 605 or a certain other variant designation engine. They overheat much faster than the German, and remember, this is a stock one. Yes, I'm fiddling a little bit around with mech, but actually I don't have to, and that's the decisive factor. There is no sudden critical temperature drop like on a lot of the other planes. At least I haven't recognized it so far. And then we can see the PB4Y, and I think to myself, well, how to attack this guy? Obviously a frontal head-on engagement would be best, so I dive into him, and I go back to auto engine control to give myself the best aerodynamics to build up as much speed as possible. I aim and I kill actually a pilot, but this plane seems to have more than just one. Obviously, being a bomber or a patrol bomber variant of the B-24, this is kind of expected, and I'm going here for the kill steal like a pro. You know why? Because I don't trust bombers. I absolutely don't trust bombers. And you can see here the actual good performance of the stock belt, and again the Spitfire would have an easy time with me, but again he has to break off. I tried to bait him with this maneuver, but now I'm behind him again. The thing is, I can make no use out of it. He outclimbs me, he outruns me, he outturns me, he outguns me. But I out-team play him again with the presence of this Focke-Wulf 190. So, thank you, Sergeant Bojan, or Bojan, whatever. And he was a good player. He just... We played together without any kind of communication. And that is nice to see. Now here I think to myself, well, time to go back to the airfield. It's a long way, it's, you know, not the best to do, but again I have to repair. Ammunition is not critical, but not the best at the same time. And yeah, he actually kills the Spitfire, I guess with a long-range lucky snipe shot. And that is the match. So again, the Italians have one drawback, and that is that they have to fly with the Germans. And that is just a simple, adequate description of what's going on. But at the moment, just the most, how to say it, just the players that really want to fly the Italians just got around to purchase their entry into the closed beta test, and so you find that you are flying with a magnificent amount of very good teammates. And here the results: 3 kills, 1 ground target for 80,000 silver lines and 5,170 modification research points, and for the vehicle research we get 7,300. Score point wise, 2nd place. So that's a nice result. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got the point that I tried to make, and I guess this again will be a little bit controversial, as my opinion of the Germans has not improved. It's just how it is. It's just my opinion, my experience fighting with and against the Allies, fighting with and against the Germans. I just can confirm that Bf109s, when they work, when the enemy makes a mistake and they get the kill, it's awesome. But if you find that the Spitfire is piloted by a semi-competent player, you're in a big load of trouble. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you're listening more. And we will see each other in the skies of War Thunder.